accountability. The difference between success and failure is usually accountability. Many people will not fulfill what they do, will not fulfill their call. But again, it's an individual effort that we are personally accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're personally accountable to your conscience. Why? Because we have the concept of amana, which means what? If you earn money that is not really yours, it's haram. Simple as that. If you take money that you have not really done what you were supposed to do for it, it's just haram money. Simple as that. That's why people are personally accountable in Islam. Next one, please. Obviously, coming to that character, it's all about character, amana and akhlaq. Among the things, obviously, is give a day's work for a day's pay. Otherwise, your earning money may not be halal. As simple as that. Punctuality. It's a mission to finish. And that's why, look, if you don't like your job, change it. Get a job you like. But excel. Be the best you can be at wherever you are. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when Sayyidina Abu Dhar asked him to be a leader, Sayyidina Abu Dhar al-Ghafari is very beloved to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Rasulullah loves him. But he did not allow him to be a leader. He said, that job is not for you. Find your passion so you can fulfill you have a fulfillment for yourself, and you can also fulfill your duty before your society and nation, and first and foremost before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sure, when we can always find ways to burn time. That's what we do best. And nowadays with social media and all the iPhones and the iPad and the iPod and I. It's all about I. So that's why even when you go home, it's no longer about family, it's about I. Because we now live such an individual life in a box that it doesn't matter if you don't have anyone, it's just I. And you know, it's going to be only I, me, and my, and that's it, and there's nothing else. No time for family, no time for elders, no time for parents, no time for children, no time for anything, because I takes every time and everything from you. Well, you may burn your own time, but when you're on the clock, that's not really your time as per the contract. And al-Muslimuna inda uqudihim, people who believe fulfill their ahd. Wa-awfu bil-uhud. As simple as that. Obviously. Surely, you know, gossiping and chatting or gossiping and backbiting, that's a sin on its own anyway. So sometimes we need to have these, again, awareness of what may be a sin. Why do I go and work and do something good, and then all of a sudden I spoil it with all these behaviors? Look, they asked one of the Salaf, I'm not sure if it's Al-Hasan al-Basri, maybe, but let's just not call a name. They said, if you were to make ghiba or gossip about anyone, who would it be? He said, my mother. He said, how come? He says, that's the only one I'd like to give my sawab and reward to. I don't want to give my rewards and hasanat and sawab to anybody else. So if I want to do ghiba, I'll just do it about my mother anyway. So, all right, respect. Islam comes with akhlaq and respect, obviously, because when we respect ourselves, we also earn respect of others, and obviously we earn the sawab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as human beings, we will always make mistakes. That's just part of our deal as being human beings. In other words, like I always say, we are perfectly imperfect, all of us. We are all imperfect people, but perfectly imperfect. So we have perfection in being imperfect, or we are imperfectly perfect, whatever you like. Which means we're going to make mistakes. It's not something strange. It's not something that is, wow, you made a mistake. Guess what? We're all going to make mistakes. All of us. Let's try to handle them right. Let's try to be accountable. And truth goes a long way. Allah will be with you always when you are on the side of truth. Last, Team player, I found this on image Google, just so you know. All right, so this is the big bear. He's saying, I am a team player. I am a team player. My team does whatever I tell them to do. So I get to tell them what they do, and that makes me a team player. Well, not necessarily. Team player is not like that, right? You all remember when we were a bit in our teenage, so those of you who are still in their teenage years, our part of team player in when the food was served is eating. That's the team player I can do. I can eat if you want me to. But it's not about just eating, it's about helping, it's about doing everything, it's about team. There is a saying by some wise, let's say Sufis in the old days, that used to say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group. If you want to go fast, go alone. It's faster. But if you want to go far, you go with a team. Fast is not as important as far. If we want to go far, the next one please, then we need to go with the group. Let me finish with this, and this will be the last thing I'll be talking about. This hadith obviously is sahih on the authority of Sayyidina Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. وعبد الله بن مسعود says كنا يوم بدر اثنين على بعير وثلاثة على بعير. He says in the battle of Badr, the Sahaba we used to be we would share mules, either 2 people on a mule, or sometimes 3 people share a mule. Obviously, because you're walking all the way, it's a long travel, and walking all the way, it will get you very tired. So, because there were not that many mules or donkeys, so every 3 people will share a mule. Sometimes, if you're lucky, there's only 1 more person. So what that means is you alternate. Sometimes you ride, and then sometimes, obviously, you walk, and sometimes you both walk and you let the mule rest. So, Ibn Mas'ud is saying, I happen to be on a mule and with 3 people. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Ali, and Abu Lubaba, actually 4 people. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu Lubaba al-Ansari, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam are sharing the same mule. Look at that. Now he's the messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? So they would alternate, he says, until their turn comes, like Abu Lubaba's turn or Ali. When Abu Lubaba's turn or Ali's turn come, they would tell him, Ya Rasulullah, irkab namshi ank. You know, it's our turn, but Ya Rasulullah, why don't you ride on the mule? We'll walk instead. And the response of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say, Innakuma lastuma bi aqwa ala al-mashi minni wala arghabu anil ajri minkuma. You are not stronger than me to walk, and I ride, and I am not less needy of the thawab or the reward than you. I am not less needy of the thawab or the reward than you. Together we can do it, but obviously if we don't do that, then we won't be able to. That'll be it. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Let's give once again a big round of applause to Dr. Sheikh. Thank you very much, Sheikh Doctor, for a very informative and interesting talk. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the question and answer sessions. Please be reminded to mention your name before asking the questions. And also you can ask the questions in Malay, and I will try to translate the questions for Sheikh. So now I open the floor for questions, please.
Correct me if I'm wrong. In any organization, don't you think that the leader is the most important person that make the organization successful or failure?
Yes, definitely. People with higher responsibility ought to have a higher accountability. So higher responsibility, higher accountability. However, so that's very important. What I'm trying to say is, if some person is not responsible in the boat, it doesn't mean we all jump ship. If someone wants to dig a hole in the boat, it doesn't mean we also take, why don't we do it also? Let's dig more holes. We're all going to go down then. If someone digs a hole in the boat, in the ocean, let's try to fill the hole. Even if it's the leader, he's going to have to be accountable, or she's going to have to be accountable. But I don't want to sink, because I have a responsibility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the people. And therefore, they can do crazy things, but my job then, it's a challenge. It becomes more challenging to people, sure, to the subordinates, absolutely. It's more, when there's a teamwork, that's why at the end I said a teamwork, and when there's a teamwork, everything goes smoothly and nicely. But at the same time, when someone is not being a team player, it obviously slows down the productivity. It slows down all these things. But we need to make sure that we're not all sinking the ship by making new holes just because someone is doing it. Yeah, even if he's or she's the leader.
I mean, what's the best indicator for us to give a very, very good motivation for our problematic subordinate? That's the question. Thank you, Sheikh.
That number one, the effort, the intention is what matters, and the effort is what matters. In other words, it's one thing to fail to try, and it's another to try and fail. We don't want to fail to try. If any, then we'll try and fail, and then we'll keep trying and failing. But failing to try is unacceptable. So the point is, all right, we need to get to success. If we fail and we try and fail, then that may be a delay in success, not a failure. But if we fail to try, then that is a failure. That's one. The other thing is conscientiousness. I mean, we look, as Muslims anyway, we have to answer to Allah for even our thoughts. Look, you have to have conscious. You have to have conscious when you go home and sleep. And you put that head on the pillow and say, Ya Allah, I have done my best. You know, and Ya Allah, the money I am earning and the food I'm bringing to my children is halal. I have done what I could. That's important. It's that tranquility, spiritual tranquility that you will end up with. That's what makes you happy anyway in life. That's what fulfillment is. Nothing else can fulfill, in my view. Allah knows.
How we want to straighten our niyyah, our intention. We do the job for the sake of Allah, only for the sake of Allah. And the second question, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. This ayah is referred to maybe the usage of this ayah and the history about this ayah. Okay, thank you.
So how do we better our niyyah is when we are transparent. Transparent means what we have in our heart is what we say on our lips. That's transparency. Are you transparent? In other words, you know it. Lots of times we do sins. And then we say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. But while saying astaghfirullah, inside of our hearts we're already planning to re-sin again. We already have the plan. The plan is moving. So we do this multitasking. Tongue is saying astaghfirullah. Mind is already planning exactly the plan of sinning again, when, where, how, why, all these things done. While you're saying astaghfirullah, that's not transparency. And no way we'll get anywhere with that kind of sort of internal hypocrisy in a sense. We gotta melt the veils and become more transparent with ourselves. So look inside your heart and try to actually have your tongue or your outer translate or manifest your inner. The more your outer manifests your inner, the clearer and the more transparent you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
Okay, recently we read, whether it's true or not, is Morsi and Al-Qadawi was sentenced to death. It's a little bit out of topic. Can you please elaborate on this? Thanks.
I didn't understand the question.
Morsi and Al-Qadawi was sentenced to death.
Morsi was sentenced. Ex-president.
You know, I mean, I did study hadith about 25 years, but I did not study politics, so I am sorry for anybody that goes and harms themselves, or they are in harm's ways. I wish everyone the best, and I really don't know what the intricate details of all that stuff. We can pray for that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants all the Muslim ummah all the best and heals all the problems and make everything better. That's all I can do. I can't, it would be unfair of me to comment politically if I'm a political ignorant.
Because all of us here are public servants working for the government. So how do we actually implement wasatiyah in our daily job? Thank you.
Very nice. Wasatiyah means moderation. And moderation is there when you're not trying to hijack it. In a sense, we all have passions. We all have our own personal calls that we feel that we're passionate about. That's great, as long as you're not trying to hijack the mission. You can do you have your own mission. Don't hijack the mission and indoctrinate your own things into, let's say, the moderate view that is there. I think the issue of going extreme from moderate is when we try to hijack moderation to our own passions. And there's no harm in having our passions, but as you all know, passions change. Being a public servant, you ought to have that moderation in the sense, all right, I am doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, here, Malaysia is a Muslim majority country, and lots of people in the world, I tell you, coming from, you know, the United States and obviously the West and other places in the world, even in the Middle East, they look up to Malaysia as an example. Believe it or not. And a lot of people thought we should look at Turkey as an example after Turkey sort of surged in one way. But actually still, no comparison between Malaysia and Turkey. Malaysia has, you know, Islam is not just in the masajid that's out there. Islam is when you walk on the street. You'll see that. I mean, signs of people. Hijab is everywhere in Malaysia. You know, people are passionate about their deen, be it whatever they are. So regardless what you say, Malaysia does not change from, let's say, a strong secularism like was in Turkey and trying to go into sort of a more, you know, free society, at least, not Islamic in a sense, yani in a theocracy, but a free that you can actually put hijab. I mean, as you all know, in Turkey, it was against the law to have hijab. Whatever law that is. Here, a lot of people in the Muslim world look up to you, to your economic progress, to your administrative abilities, to your stands on issues, whether it's just issues for all humanity or other things. So, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever it is, you are in the eye of many Muslims out there looking towards you for answers. So that's your call for wasatiyah. It's not only what you're doing in your city, it's what you do has an impact globally on Muslims. Truly does.
My question is, what is your advice for people who's looking to balance between work and family, especially for working women? Thank you.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. This is a very good question, I think, and for both men and women, this way. Family is first. Now, I'm not saying leave your job. Please don't. I'll be in trouble with the chief minister if I tell you this. Please be the best you can be at your job. But all I'm saying is this, look, as a society, we're the most important and valuable asset is you, the human being, your children. That's the most important asset that any nation has. It's human resources. Make sure when we're going out there to do our job, help build the nation, bring a loaf of bread on the table, we're not neglecting what kind of food is going into our children. You're going to put a loaf of bread on the table, but you don't mind what kind of toxic food goes into your child's mind or heart. You're not doing your child a favor. Children and your family. We can't build in one aspect and destroy in the other. So that's why there has to be a balance. And everyone knows their balance. And you have to put that. Whatever that balance needs to be, it needs to be between the spouses to make sure that the children are afforded the time they need, and also the education, the tarbiyah. In the old days, tarbiyah meant a lot. And so that's very important, I feel, and we all have to sort of work on this, and everyone has to find their own balance. So if you take a job because you feel you can contribute and you want to do good, great. That means now you have an additional challenge to deal with, so deal with it. Yeah.
I would like to ask about, in Islam we know that if you want people love us, we have to love them like as much as we love ourselves. And I would like to ask Sheikh about if you can share one dua in order to make ourselves still maintain with ourselves and other people's relationship to be in a good relationship. Thank you.
You know, there is one of the most beautiful dua anyway that I believe that the Prophet ﷺ left us, that the one that Imam Tirmidhi and others narrated, which Nabi ﷺ himself is saying, Allahumma arzuqni hubbak. Oh Allah, give me the rizq of loving you. Look at that. So loving is rizq. Allahumma arzuqni hubbak. Wa hubba man yuhibbuk. Or Allahumma inni as'aluka. Another narration. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak. Oh Allah, I ask you to grant me your love. And the love of those you love. So there are people Allah loves. So ask Allah to give you the love of those who Allah loves. Not only that, وَحُبَّ عَمَلٍ يُقَرِّبُنِي إِلَى حُبِّكَ. And a love of something, amal, an action, an act, a deed, that makes me closer to your love. That's one of the best du'as I have. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for all the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, finally we've come to the end of the session. Once again, I would like to say thanks to the Honorable Sheikh Dr. Al-Muhaddith Syed Muhammad, and of course to the audience for your active participation. I hope, I really hope that the presentation and the Q&A sessions just now will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you for your attention, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you everyone for your presence. I hope you have found this executive talk to be informative and useful. Please do not hesitate to bring back to our officers and practice all the good advices given by our guest speaker. With that, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah, wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you.